Hello everyone, welcome to Learn DAX channel. My name is Siddesh and in this video we are going to look at how do we calculate the top X number of sales that have happened in the last N number of days. In particular for this problem, I am going to calculate the top 3 sales that have happened in the last 7 days. So the data set that we have is a simple sales table that runs for 14 days having 14 sales starting from 1st of July 2024 to 14th of July 2024, which means that given the last date as 14th of July, from 7th of July 2024, what were the top 3 sales that have happened? And in order to achieve that, we are going to use something called as the top n function in Power BI. Now, the top n function is going to return us a table. So instead of writing a measure, we are going to create a table. And like in my previous video of rolling sum and rolling average, I have straight away used the formula from the internet. And we are going to see the breakdown of that formula and how this DAX eventually works using Excel again. And if you would like to watch the rolling sum and rolling average video before coming to this video, that would be very good because that will definitely help you to grasp the concepts of this video even better. So let's start with understanding what the DAX for that is, and let's start breaking it down. So the first thing that we need here is we need a reference that because we want to calculate the sales that have happened in the last 7 days, which means we need to find what is the latest sales date in our sales table. So we can find that using the max of sales date function. So we are declaring it right at the beginning that, hey, this is my max sales date, store it in a variable, and that's what I'm going to use to compare my date in the current context with this particular date. And we are also going to signify a start date. So start date is going to be the date which is going to be your last sales date minus 7. So let's say the last sales date is 7th of July. In that case, my start date would be 1st of July, which means the filter function would have to filter the sales that have happened from 1st of July to 7th of July. In our case, since the last date is 14th of July, so start date would be 14 minus 7, that would be 7th of July. And once we have those two variables, now we are going to use the filter function. So the filter function is essentially going to provide a table to the top n function. So what the top n function basically does is the first argument that you give is the number of values that you want. The second argument is the table that you're going to pass in as the argument. And the third is on what basis do you want to kind of order the table, or on what basis do you want to really get those top values. And the last is the order in which you want to sort them. So in this case, it's descending, which means that you want to have the top 3 values based on the sales amount and they have to be sorted in descending order. Now, please note that when we create the table using the top n function, when we try to drag and drop it on the visual, it is not going to give us the sort order. If we want to kind of hard code the sort order, we may have to use some different solution like having an add columns function or a summarize function. I'm not sure about it, but this definitely would not give us, when we are dragging on the screen, the sort order. It does not guarantee the sort order. But however, what we can do is once we have dragged it on the screen, we can just change the sort order manually. But the purpose of this is to get the top 3 sales that have happened in this particular window, and we have to apply this condition. So let's see how this filter function exactly works. So in the filter function, I have the first argument as the sales, which is the sales table, and then there is a condition that my date in the current context should be greater than or equal to the start date, and the sales date in the current context has to be less than or equal to the last sales date. So what I'm trying to do is I'm trying to find that window or that period of dates which is going to give me the last 7 days worth of dates. And for that, I'm going to compare it with my start date and my last date. In order to understand it better, let's head on to Excel because there I have created some tables and it will be easier for you to understand. So this is essentially the sales table that we have in Power BI. And now we want to break it down iteration by iteration and understand how this formula is going to work. So let's move on to this page in which this is the filter function. Now, in the first iteration, My sales date is going to be 1st of July 2024. Now it's going to check, is 1st of July 2024 greater than or equal to my start date? My start date is last date minus 7, which turns out to be 7th of July 2024. Well, it's not, definitely it's not greater than or equal to my start date. So immediately that condition becomes false, and since it's an AND condition, it's going to give me false anyways. So I would say that it turns out to be false. Now, is my second, when I go to the second iteration, the date in the current context is 2nd of July. Is it greater than or equal to my start date, which is 7th of July? No. So I think now you get the point that until I touch 7th of July, it's not going to return me a true value, which means I can simply drag this until maybe here. And from now, the moment in my seventh iteration, my date in the current context becomes 7th of July and it is equal to the start date, and it is also less than my last date, which is the 14th of July. So it starts to return me true in this particular scenario. So I'll just write true here, and it is going to provide me with data from this iteration onwards, because every date since 7th of July is greater than 7th of July and it is also less than or equal to 14th of July, which means that the resultant table will contain the dates from 7th of July to 14th of July. Now, this is about the filter function. Now, if I have to expand what exactly table that I'll get after filtering the values, then this is the table. I'm sorry. Oh, okay. I think I hit something. I'll probably have to unhide. I'm sorry for that. So what that does is, because you see true values coming here, the table that we are going to get as a result of using this filter function is the sales that have occurred in the last 7 days. Now, this is where the top n function comes in, and it's only going to give us the top three values, which in this case, on manually checking those values, it is 1400, 1200, and 900. So the resultant table that we would get as we iterate further is going to be, so yeah, the resultant table that we get eventually is going to be this one. It is going to have three sales that have happened, one on 12th of July, one on 9th of July, very special day, one on 14th of July. So I have these three values that should show up when I use the top n function. So let me go back and check what is the output of the top n function. So before that, let's again collate everything that we have seen until now. So we have the filter function. The filter function ran for 14 iterations, and in each iteration until the 7th of July, it was returning false because the condition was coming out to be false. Since 7th of July, the condition turned out to be true because that was the condition for the last 7 days. Once we fed the condition for the last 7 days into the top n function, then the top n function did its part and only filtered three values of sales based on the sales amount and sorted it in descending order. However, when we drag it on the visual, like I said earlier, it may not give us the sort order. So now once I just drag this on this table, I'll just get the product name, product category, sale ID, sales amount, and sales date. So let me just put these things in a better order. So sales ID goes first, product name. I don't think we need the category here. And yeah, sales date. Okay, let me just also do the formatting. Also, we need to, yeah, the sale ID should not be summarized. So now we have the sale IDs corresponding to 14, 12, and 9, having the sales amount, the top three sales amount actually in the window from 14th July to 7 days behind. So these are the three values that I should be getting, and even upon manual verification, I can actually see that. So if I just sort this table in descending order of the dates, or rather, if I sort this table in the descending order of the sales amount, I see that the top sales have happened on the 6th of July, but that's not what I want. The second biggest sale has happened on the 1st of July, but that's again something that I don't want. Then we have the 12th of July, the 9th of July, and the 14th of July, which is 1400, 1200, and 900, which we are verifying even here. And when I go back to Excel and just check what is it that I got here, so yeah, those are the three records. Now, what I did in Excel is simply manually doing it, but in Power BI, what we have done is used top N function. So that's how simple it was to get the last 7 days top three sales that have occurred. Now, this is a very simple use case. Usually, when we do implement such solutions in a real time projects, there could be multiple things which are more complicated. But my attempt in this video is to just kind of break things to the most atomic level possible and try to build a foundation of how things work at a very granular level. And once we have the fundamentals clear, then at least it helps me to kind of build upon those concepts and fundamentals and apply it to bigger and more complex situations. And yeah, this is what I wanted to put through in this particular video. And I hope that you found value from this video. If you did, please share it with your friends. And if you think that there are gaps in my delivery and I need to improve something in my videos, please do let me know in your comments. And like I say at the end of every video, thanks for watching and happy learning.